Then Now Forever Ray explores a wide array of topics surrounding Bison athletics and the lives of Bucknellians near and far. With live interviews hosted by members of the Bucknell Athletic Department, Then Now Forever Ray highlights the university's proud tradition of excellence in the classroom, in the competitive arena, and in life after graduation.
Welcome to another edition of Then, Now, Forever Ray. I'm Todd Newcomb, director of the Bison Club at Bucknell, and I'm joined today by our first married guest couple here for Bison Athletics, Dave Steigerwald, class of 1996, and his wife, Lori Steigerwald, class of 2000. Lori, of course, if you're a Bison fan, was Lori Hauk during her playing days here with the Bison. Guys, thanks a lot for being here today. I'm really looking forward to our conversation.
Thanks for having us.
Happy to be here.
Yep.
All right. So let's start with the then. So Dave, we'll start with you first. So tell us about how you wound up at Bucknell. How did you hear about it? What was your recruiting situation like? How did you become a Bison?
I remember seeing Bucknell first when they played in the kind of like the Mike Joseph days when they played in the tournament against Syracuse and Georgetown. And I realized that Bucknell was not far away from Shikshinny Lake and that it was a great program and it had a storied history even back from the East Coast Conference days before the Patriot League. So that's when I first heard about it. So I was probably in middle school, I guess, at the time. And then as my high school career got better, I got to know, Coach Conrad and Coach Danzig, and then Coach Woolham started to recruit me. And it was, I owe such a debt of gratitude to Coach Woolham for taking a chance on me. And I remember him clearly saying, we're not recruiting you for, the player you are now at 6'6", 165 pounds. But we're recruiting you for the player that we think you can be and we know you want to be. So that was really great. And my recruiting, anybody who knows the Bucknell campus, I came on my official visit was on a beautiful Friday afternoon in the springtime. I'd been to a game or two, but a beautiful Friday afternoon in the springtime. And if anybody's ever seen the Bucknell campus in springtime, it's just a sight to behold. And I had a great visit and went to classes with guys and hung out. And the next morning, Coach Danzig came to pick me up. I think I was staying with Pat Hook and Brian Eisert, and Coach Danzig came to pick me up. I still had two more visits. I think I had Lehigh and Lafayette official visits, and Coach Danzig came to pick me up to take me to breakfast. And I said, Coach, I'm coming here. And I had to make the phone call to Lehigh and Lafayette and let them know that I had committed, but it was just a feeling in my gut, and the position I would be in, just geographically, academically, and athletically, the timing was perfect, and easily the best gut decision I ever made, and it was an easy decision.
Well, for us and for Bison fans, it was a good decision too. So we're glad you came to Bucknell instead of those other two schools in the Lehigh Valley. So, Lori, what about you? How'd you wind up here at Bucknell?
I was on the summer camp circuit, I feel like, my sophomore and junior year. And, not only basketball, but I was playing field hockey and, I ran track. So I was kind of feeling out some options in all those sports. And I remember getting interest from Coach Simpson at the time, who was coaching the women's program and recruited me. And really that started a flurry of interest, like from the Patriot League, and other schools in the Patriot League. And so I started my visits, and I had the same experience as Dave, whereas when I went on campus, I was like, okay, this feels right. And then meeting the girls and the team, it just all kind of fit and felt like the place that I should be. So that's kind of the direction we went then, just kind of figuring out basketball being primary, and I had some interest in running track, which I didn't follow through on, but you know, I mean, yeah, the rest is history.
Well, I'm going to ask both of you guys for some stories along the way. So be thinking in your mind what you might want to share with our viewers. But Dave, you played for Hall of Fame coach. Well, you played for Charlie for a little bit, right? And then did you also play for Coach Flannery?
Yes. Yes.
So you
Exactly.
experienced both coaches. Talk a little bit about the different style of their coaching, and then maybe a little bit about you know, they're both obviously were very competitive and had high standards for Bison basketball. But talk about that a little bit, you know, how they might have been different.
Yep, sure. Coach Willem, as you mentioned, just two very competitive guys in Coach Willem and Coach Flannery, and they expected so much out of you, you know, because of the tradition of excellence that Bucknell basketball and the university have. So it was easy to stay on your toes and make sure you brought it every single day for both coaches. With Coach Woolham, he had more of the offensive mindset, just kind of throw the ball out there and get after it, up and down the court, run and gun, rely a lot on your athleticism and your ability, your basketball IQ, to bring that to every game in practice. And he was a little bit more kind of easygoing, and even though he expected a lot out of you. And then Coach Flannery, you know, that was a different philosophy for us to get, you know, initially get used to, because he really pounded home the defensive side of the basketball. And that's where we were really successful, because we had a great matchup zone that we used, but also man-to-man. And he would implement a really good motion type of offense set. So it wasn't just relying on getting up and down the court. And he also expected a ton out of you, and he didn't let anything slide, which was great. And he would get after you. He'd get in your face a little bit, grab you by the jersey. And I remember just so many lessons that I learned from him, just as far as that I could translate into the real world. Like, you know, be comfortable in an uncomfortable situation. You know, that was one of the biggest things, because he wanted to get the most out of us. And I think, personally speaking, you know, I owe a debt of gratitude for Coach Woolham getting me on campus and instilling confidence into me, and then Coach Flannery really demanding to, you know, he saw that I wanted to be as great as I could, and he really squeezed every ounce of talent out of me that I was able to provide, and he instilled so much confidence in me that way, and I think all of us.
Yeah, he might have gotten after you a little bit, but I've never seen a coach get after the stripes like Coach Flannery was able to. You know, he worked those guys from the opening whistle, and you know, he knew how to get that done too. So, Lori, on your side, did you also play for two different coaches?
I'm remembering, yes, you're like, now I'm going back in my memory bank, but Jolene was my freshman year, and then Coach Fed came on the scene my sophomore year.
How was that transition?
They definitely had two completely different styles. You know, Coach Fed was much more structured, you know, a lot more repetition, a lot more strength and conditioning. And I think her style suited me better, probably, Coach Fed. You know, so that was a good change for me, I think, in the end. But, you know, I was just thinking when Dave was telling that story, I remember when, you know, we would have, not Dave and I, but like women and men would have back-to-back practices, like where we would practice first and the men would practice after us. And I remember Flannery, like if practice was done at 7:00, he was like on the court at 7:00, basically like pacing at the other end, you know, while we're running suicides or shooting foul shots or whatever the case. But
ready to go.
Yeah, just remembering him, like, you know. Anyway, that's funny.
Yeah. So obviously, right now, you know, we're playing our basketball games in Soika Pavilion, but you both played your games in Davis Gym. And for those of us, myself included, who are here during the times of Davis Gym, that was a special place in so many ways. Why don't you guys talk a little bit about your experience with games there and what the atmosphere was like, and how you might miss that as composed to Soika. I mean, Soika's beautiful in its own right, but it's a little different than Davis Gym was. And Lori, we'll start with you this time.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, never having played in Soika, just being a spectator, I guess I don't know really what it's like, unless you count the alumni games, which I wouldn't count. But, yeah, Davis, whenever we go back to campus, we still go to Davis because I think it brings back all of those feelings. And, I liked the relative smallness of it. And, when we were playing, we had double headers, and it was always fun, the second half of our game for more people to start coming in and really get it, into our game before the men's game started. So I always enjoyed that. It was just a good vibe and kind of exhilarating, playing in that. But there's definitely sentiment and emotion around being in that gym. It really takes me back for sure.
What about you, Dave?
Oh yeah, when Soika first came on the scene, Soika Pavilion, that is, people would say, "Oh, Dave, don't you wish you played here?" And isn't this beautiful? And it is. It's a beautiful arena. It's so perfect for the community and the town and the level of basketball in the Patriot League. But I would always say, you know what? There was nothing better than playing. I have goosebumps on my arms now. There was nothing better than playing in just a hot, packed, steamy Davis Gym. And two of my favorite memories. One was freshman year for the regular season title. We played Holy Cross, and I think the fire marshal must have turned his head the other way because there were people sitting in the aisles, on the floor, and it was so loud and so hot, and it was just the perfect environment. And that was freshman year. And then just another particular game I remember junior year, it was Holy Cross again. Same vibe. It was a Saturday afternoon, and we just really got after Holy Cross and took it to them. And I just remember even thinking, this is we were up probably 15 with a minute to go. So I took a second, which you normally couldn't do, but took a second to kind of look around and take it in and say, this is great. This is really fun.
Yeah, and despite what people might think out there, we never paid off the fire marshal. There were more than one. There was definitely more than one game where we had people sitting in the aisles, and you guys are both right. I mean, it was that kind of atmosphere that you really couldn't see anywhere else, and it was a great home court advantage. What might you think back to your experience here at Bucknell that you took with you once you graduated and you've used in your current lifestyle, whether it's your job or with your family and your children? What's something you've learned as a student athlete here at Bucknell?
Oh,
Dave, you can go first.
I think the best part about Bucknell is how, I'm thankful every day for Bucknell because it really shaped me as a person. I didn't know, coming from a small town where I grew up, I went to another small town in Lewisburg, but the campus and the university and the experience and the friends that you made and the athletic challenges and academic challenges made you stay focused every day on who you were and trying to stay a half a step ahead. And then going back to that story of Coach Flannery saying, I want you to be comfortable being uncomfortable. I try and think about that because whether it was on the basketball court and practice and conditioning or in class when you'd have to give a presentation, and that's an uncomfortable thing as a student. Speaking in front of your peers and delivering a presentation or playing in a big game in front of tons of people, that's really helped translate into life as far as the lessons we learn in work and jobs and those situations. And we're fortunate to have three great kids who are 8, 6, and a year and a half, and we try and.
You guys aren't busy at all.
No,
You're not busy at all.
not at all. We were just talking about that with somebody last night. Our hands aren't full at all, and we try and take those lessons that we learned and pass them on to our Kate, who's 8, and Will, who's 6 right now, and just try and to do the right thing, and you'll be successful and it'll work out. But you got to stay on top of it.
What about you, Lori?
Similarly, like I was the first person in my family to go to college. Like I didn't have a lot of like experience or mentorship, I'd say, like with a career building or next phase, of my life. And I feel like Bucknell really gave me that. I mean, I did the ILTM program, if you recall, and I think that really opened my eyes to what was out there, what I could do as a career, and also just being put in like certain settings, like that maybe I haven't been in before. I think really prepared me for, my first job. I mean, it directly via my internship through ITLM, but then also just kind of my approach and mindset as a young professional. So, I think that was a takeaway that I carried with me. And then playing basketball our whole lives, I think really you can translate a lot of learnings, leadership skills, teamwork, work ethic, like all those things into your life after college, right? But beyond that, I feel like my teammates, really kind of bonding with them and carrying our relationships through the last 2 decades, and just they're really kind of an inspiration to me, and my sisterhood, like my sorority, and so that's like something that every day affects me in my life, just staying connected with them and our friendships and helping each other through life,
So before we turn to the now portion of the podcast and we talk about what you guys are doing with your lives now, aside from chasing around 3 kids, what's one bit of advice you guys would each give to the current student athletes in our program? And Lori, I'll start with you.
This is always easy to say in retrospect, but not to put too much pressure on yourself, to enjoy the wins, and, not think or plan too far ahead, live in the moment. Again, I think that's something you learn through life and is something you more say as a retrospective comment, but that's what I would encourage them to do.
Dave?
The first thing I would say that it also a cliche, but it goes fast. It goes really fast. So soak it in, appreciate the good times, and it's okay to kind of deal with the bad times. And so even if you're, going to class at an early morning class or going to a 5:30 a.m. workout, embrace it all, soak it all in, because it goes fast, and just appreciate it.
So now that you guys are together and you have 3 children, just tell us real quickly how you got together and what that's been like, sharing all those Bucknell stories with each other all through the time.
We had, Lori, I graduated and then Lori came into Bucknell, so we didn't know each other while on campus, but we had, the Bucknell basketball program, whether it's the men or the women, are a really fun group of people who stay really tight-knit because we're basically, us and the swimmers are really the only ones, it seems, on campus all through January when no one else is there. So you have kind of a tight bond, and we had a bunch of mutual friends, and it was the Patriot League tournament when it was down in the Baltimore area that Lori and I said hello to each other and just kind of hit it off. And at that time, she was in Chicago and I was back east, but we said, hey, let's give this a shot on this long-distance relationship, and we kept at it and stayed committed to it, and spent time in New York together, and then headed out this way, and here we are in Lancaster, PA. we had our wedding on campus at Bucknell, which was a great at Rook Chapel. So that was an awesome time and event, and just a big old Bucknell reunion party.
Got to do that. If you're getting married to another Bucknellian, you got to make sure it's in Rook Chapel, right?
So fun. Yep.
For those of you at home who don't know it, Lori is a member of the Bucknell Athletics Hall of Fame. So, Dave, my question for you is, how does it feel to be the second best athlete in the family?
I'm the proudest guy. I checked my ego at the door when she got that. I think you called me to tell me. I think she wasn't picking up her phone or something like that. So you called me and said, hey, Dave, is Lori's number still whatever it is? I said, yeah. He said, well, I have some good news. I guess you can give it to her. And I was beaming when she said that. And I think it's pretty awesome. And we love to take the kids there and show her picture on the wall. So I can take it. I still think I can beat her one-on-one on most days.
It's so funny, too. All of his friends, like, if we see each other, like, every year maybe, and, like, one of the first things they say is HOF to me. Like,
yeah. Hey, Hall of Fame.
I don't know if that's a dig to Dave or they're just, I don't know, cracks me up. But
I love it. I any chance I get to rib Dave about it, I'll do that for sure.
I'll take it.
So the third prong of our podcast today is the forever component. And I know for both of you, it's important for you to come back, to visit the campus often, to be involved as alumni. And I know you both give back to your programs. Why is that a big thing for you both? And what's so important about staying connected to Bucknell?
I mean, with our kids, like I've especially enjoyed taking our kids and having them see kind of the magic, that's there, and they really do. It's like we're sharing a part of us by taking them with us, to these different events. They're seeing a little bit of our history by being there, both just being on campus, but then with the alumni, like, connections and friendships, and it's just like a great environment and, like, group of people to be with. And I love that they see that, and they know Ray Bucknell. We sing it on the way to campus on the drive, and I think they really understand kind of what it's about, even at such a young age, just from us taking them back to campus and being more involved. So that's really been rewarding for me.
How about you, Dave?
Yep. I've said this and expressed this to Coach Flannery, and I think, and I talked about this on different occasions, but Bucknell is without a doubt the best thing that ever happened to me. I was so fortunate for Coach Willem to get me on campus, and then just the friendships that we've made. I mean, the first person I met was Kevin Wenk. He was my freshman year roommate, and then we became roommates all 4 years. He's the best man in my wedding, and we still talk or text every day. And then playing for a guy like Coach Willem, and then Coach Flannery. Coach Flannery, we still see him frequently. He asked for a schedule to Kate's soccer games because he's going to try and make a few of those. And then just all of the friendships that I've made on campus and along the way. And I've said this, one of the most special things for me, in the Bucknell basketball program, is that I have close relationships with guys who played in the 70s and early 80s with, like Steve O'Brien and Ed Siegel, and then all the way through the other end of the spectrum where, I'll still shoot a text to guys like, Chris McNaughton and guys who I never even played with on either side of the ball. And I think that's what makes Bucknell so special, is that the relationships, everybody seems to have great respect for the relationships that we have and that we've gained along the way through so many similar experiences, that it's just awesome to share, and especially see people, at the alumni game, like, Kevin Blackwell and guys that come back and you see just once a year, but it's really nice to see them all.
Well, guys, it's really obvious that you both bleed orange and blue. I want to thank you for taking the time out today to join us, and go Bucknell.
Absolutely.
Bucknell.
Ray Bucknell. Thanks, Todd. Go Bison.
Big man.